Ruining the wedding by upsetting the bride's mom? So for starters, I, M21, have an incurable chronic condition. It's under management, but it won't get better and absolutely won't be completely cured. I made peace with that long ago. It doesn't bother me mentally, physically that's a different story though. I'm friends with my ex, F18, who recently invited me to her wedding. We're friends since middle school and parted ways back in high school, so no hard feelings. Her mom, I'll call her Jen, F53, for some reason was always obsessed with my condition in that weird morbid curiosity way, constantly asked whether I'm feeling well, what's the prognosis, what the doctor said, offered some weird natural remedies/alternative cures or whatever it's called. I never really made a big deal out of it, mostly just said I'm okay thanks out of politeness and changed the topic. So fast forward to the wedding, it went smoothly, but it had a free bar and by the middle of the reception most of the guests were noticeably drunk. I didn't drink much BC, the meds I'm on don't interfere with the alcohol in a good way, but I was somewhat tipsy as well. Obviously, Jen, who was already drunk to the point she had issues standing, approached me and started questioning me about my illness. I tried to maintain the polite tone and said I'm okay, don't worry as usual, but she kept pushing for more info. So, here's where I might be the R. I guess I just lost it since it's not exactly the most pleasant topic to talk about during a wedding, plus I was tipsy as I said, not that it excuses my behavior, but I guess it explains it. I snapped and told her that no, I'm in fact not okay, my internal organs are slowly failing and I won't make it past 50, and no goddamn home remedies would magically cure me or else I'd be healthy and thriving. Of course she got upset and started crying, saying that she doesn't want me to die and loves me and wishes I'd be there instead of the groom, WTF bitch. I tried to comfort her, but no avail. Needless to say it started some drama. I'd spare you the details since I left shortly after it all started and basically spent the whole night comforting the crying bride and eventually drove her home while risking getting a DUI in the process. Next morning her mom texted me saying that I'm an R, that I ruined the wedding by starting the drama and possibly damaging the newlyweds' relationship. She said that I upset her and I had to be positive and hopeful and even proceeded to say that God cursed me with my illness, WTF which X2, and that if I used her natural remedies I'd be healthy. I personally don't think that I'm the R, yeah I could have handled it better, but the second option won't hurt. Comment 1. Drove her home while risking getting a DUI in the process. No, what you risked was the lives of other drivers on the road because you decided to drink and drive. YTA. The rest of your post is irrelevant, as you chose to drink and drive and your only thought about that action was how you might get caught doing it, not the risk of you killing anyone on the road that night. Comment 2. Man, can I take a swing and guess that she is the reason you stopped dating her daughter? Cause WTF? Who wants to constantly be badgered with how you are feeling? Try this, it will help because it sucks. You said you have come to terms with it, but constantly being reminded of it will make you snap. The mother of the bride ruined the wedding, not you, and it is very distasteful to utter the bulls she spewed out of her mouth at her own daughter's wedding. NTA et al. OP. Please keep your distance from this woman, you don't need this chaos in your life. Damn, people just get crazier and crazier. Comment 3. YTA for drinking and driving and for never, in all these years, simply saying I don't really enjoy talking about my condition and I'd appreciate it if you stop bringing it up. You went straight from no indication it was an issue to rudeness. At a wedding. Making hubby eat poor people meals? So a bit of background to start off. My husband, 29M, and I, 30F, have been married 6 years, together 12. We met through a mutual friend our last year in high school and bonded over nerdy stuff, did long distance while I did my bachelor's degree for 4 years. I am the oldest of 6 children. Money was always a bit tight, but manageable. My dad was Army, and put out on disability for a severe training accident after baby number 4. Baby number 5 came due not long after my dad was put out due to a birth control issue. It's not 100% unfortunately. When baby number 5 was around 2, my dad got a second opinion from a civilian doctor and was allowed to come back into the military. Not long after that, baby number 6, cause my dad wanted a second boy. I was 11, and had dealt with food stamps, my mom having breakdowns from financial stress, and ended up with PTSD and depression myself from the childhood trauma. My husband was the youngest of 5. His parents had their first 4, then when the second youngest was 12, decided they didn't want to be empty nesters yet and had my husband. When the other 4 were little, they struggled financially, but by the time my husband was born, his dad had worked for NASA for over 2 decades, so they had Social Security and a high salary. They went out every weekend, and he would get fast food every couple days, while my family only could afford to go out for birthdays. My husband didn't make me aware this was how often they went out until the last couple years. I've had to tighten our budget and restrict how often we eat out, and my husband had a legit panic attack over it. I make around $600 more than he does a month, not including the odd that I work, and I do all the household chores except his laundry. Last night I was really tired and didn't feel like cooking or doing a ton of dishes and asked if he would be okay with a PBJ sandwich or can of soup from the pantry to use up what we had. He got really offended and asked, are we so bad off that we have to resort to poor people meals? I didn't think there was anything wrong with canned soup and crackers or PBJ, it's what I grew up with and it's food, and thought it would help decrease our debt to use what we had, but maybe I'm wrong. Am I tar? Why I might be tar, wasn't considerate of my husband's depression and wasn't willing to try making actual food. Edit 1: I forgot to add this to the post last night, was very tired when I wrote this, my apologies. When we first got married, he did help with household chores more and didn't complain as much about things. He can't cook, but he would at least make easy things like chili dogs or sandwiches for us. His depression hit 2 to 3 years ago and it was a puppet with cut strings. That's when the issues started. We do also both work 40 hours a week, but I make more an hour and do more OT, just to clear up any confusion from how I worded it earlier. Edit 2, since a lot of people have asked, I figured it may be easier to address en masse. Yes, my husband is on medication for his depression, and is willing to try therapy, but unfortunately the wait lists in our area for a therapist are months long. Comment 1. So you earn more and do all the household chores and budgeting. He thanks you for this by insulting your food choices and having you second-guess yourself to the point you're on AITA asking if you're the R for being tired and not wanting to cook. Was he willing to make actual food? Was he considerate of your depression? And PTSD? And general exhaustion from carrying what sounds like the entire mental load of your household? NTA. Comment 3. NTA. My God, I love a good PB&J every now and then. Ditto on the soup and crackers. Throw in a grilled cheese sandwich somewhere and I'm about as happy as one can get. We weren't poor growing up, but my mother was the product of her upbringing, very budget conscious when it came to planning and making meals. We ate a lot of crock-pot meals, hot dishes, night breakfasts and yes, soup and sandwiches. Those were staples in our house as well as those of my friends. If your husband doesn't want to eat what you offered him, he can take his happy A in the kitchen and make something. Comment 3. This seems to be more about household responsibilities than budget. It's one thing to not afford high-quality ingredients, but assuming you had them, it doesn't sound as though he is capable of cooking a meal. I think he was actually more upset that you weren't butler service than anything. NTA, and I think he should cook meals too. Telling my friend to stop saying she's poor? I, 23F, am disabled and live on pension, and have a friend 25F, Leela, who is also on pension. We have very different disabilities, but the specifics aren't really relevant here. In our country, there's a program that helps fund quality of life type stuff for disabled people. Stuff like transportation, physio, social activities, ECT. I'm not eligible for this program due to not being a citizen. I migrated as a toddler and applied for citizenship at 18 but was denied because of my health status. Leela uses this program. We have different life circumstances. I live alone, not by choice, while Leela lives with her parents and does not pay for her own living expenses. We get roughly the same amount of money from pension regardless. Leela invited me to an escape room this week and I declined because I can't afford it. She said it was fine and that she understood how hard being poor was because she'd spent over $100 on plushies and couldn't afford to do other activities she wanted before she got paid. She says this kind of "I'm so poor" stuff a lot and I usually let it slide, but this time I lost it. I told her to stop saying that she's poor. I also said that until the food bank employees know you by name, you can't say shit about being poor. A couple of other things that I can't quite remember, but I didn't sugarcoat it. She's now upset with me and wants me to apologize for being an asshole about it. I get that she's not rich by any means, but I feel like her acting she's on the same level of poverty as I am is also a dick move. I'm definitely a bit jealous of her lifestyle being better than mine due to circumstances, but I don't begrudge her any of that. I just wish she wouldn't compare overspending on hobbies to not being able to afford medical bills because you decided to eat that week. I can't tell if she's being childish and insensitive or if I'm being a huge jerk. She's a lovely person other than being a bit sheltered, so I don't want to lose our friendship over this fight and I plan to apologize for being harsh about it, but I don't think I'm wrong here. Comment 1. NTA. I get it. She is better off financially than you and yet she keeps complaining about being poor. She takes many things for granted, like her home, the food, all that she considers are basic and standard, while you have to pay for each of those things, even the most basic stuff. She doesn't get it. You had an outburst because of that, and it's fine. You didn't say anything too harsh to begin with. And now you want to apologize to her, because you don't want to let that small fight ruin a good friendship you have with her. That's quite mature of you. All in all, she's just, relatively, privileged brat who is taking some things of her life for granted. It can't be helped. You can stay a friend to her, but stop letting her words affect you all that much. Comment 2. YTA, you're both poor and you're gatekeeping it from her because she's not as poor as you. Yes, you're on two different levels of poverty and she has more resources than you, but that does not invalidate that she still struggles as a poor person would. Also, in this case, she was emphasizing with, relating with your circumstances, and normalizing your predicament. Assuming she's a normal person, she was doing that to alleviate any shame you may have associated with being poor and to extend comfort by letting you know she can relate. You responded with outrage and indignity at this type of behavior which many adults do not ever develop. Comment 3. YTA. You are comparing yourself to your friend and trying to win the prize for the most unfortunate. Your friend didn't do anything wrong, but you are viewing your entire life from a victim standpoint where everyone has more than you. Your friend still has their own struggles and you aren't a safe place for them to discuss what they are going through. You are absolutely being childish and in the wrong here.
Ruining the family gathering over a joke my sister made? For some context, I, 28M, and my wife, Claire, 25F, are expecting. Claire is currently 8 months pregnant, our son being expected to be born in November 2023. This isn't our first pregnancy though. Claire got pregnant 2 years ago, but the day our daughter was born, she passed away. This crushed us both mentally, especially for my wife. Well, I have a sister, Hannah 19F, who, for better words, lacks sympathy. Our parents always try to defend her, and try to say she has a dark sense of humor, but this time, she took it too far. We were at a family gathering yesterday and it all went well, until the topic of the pregnancy came up. Everybody was asking how Claire was, and some of females, like my aunts, grandmother, mom, were asking about the birthing plan, when my sister says, while laughing, "Let's hope this baby isn't like the last." Talking about mine and Claire's daughter. I completely lost it. I started screaming at Hannah, telling her that was completely rude of her, and that if she ever says stuff like that again she wouldn't be able to ever even see our son. Hannah started crying while Claire was already crying. My dad took me away from my sister and I got yelled at for making Hannah cry over a joke, and I ruined the gathering. I will admit I may have been harsh while threatening to not let Hannah see my son, but this isn't the first time she made a joke like that. Comment 1. NTA, you didn't ruin shit. Your sister did. What she said was so far out of line I can't even put it into words. The fact that anyone in your family would even attempt to defend her is disgusting. And no, what you said wasn't even remotely harsh. What she said warrants never being able to set eyes on your child. That's not a joke. That's psychotic. Comment 2. NTA, because you and your wife's feelings were hurt, and that's a terrible thing to say to a couple that went through that. The screaming could have been handled better, but may touchy subjects bring up unexpected reactions. I also want to figure out what is Hannah going through to be so desensitized to say something like that. She's definitely old enough to know better, and having a dark sense of humor isn't an excuse. Comment 3. NTA, but your dad and sister definitely are. She's 19, not 9, he can't be fighting her battles. It's also horrible that her behavior and jokes are being minimized when they are cruel. I take a step back and go LC from those two personally. They don't get to act as if it's okay to say something like that, to put that out into the universe. If they can't be supportive to you and your wife, they can be in a timeout. You didn't overreact at all. Good luck, OP.